is one of the most authentic, knowledgeable fashion voices I know. Has been design director, fashion sketch artist. Walk us through some of his professional journals, as well as a personal journal. And he's going to do a demonstration for us.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and I'll try to live up to it. The projects I'm involved in now, I recently sketched for two divisions at Ralph Lauren. The new division Polo Woman last fall, and just recently Polo's Black Label division, women's division. And I'm also freelance designing for Christian Francis Roth's new division, and I'm illustrating for New York and Company's Eva Mendes collection. So
And if that's not enough, what else are you doing?
Well, I've got a real labor of love that I'm working on. It's a throwback sort of to fashion comic books. When I was a kid, one of my first forays into drawing involved fashion comics. And a lot of people just think comic books and they automatically think superheroes. But when I was a kid, they had different genres of comics. They had comics for little kids like Casper and Richie Rich, and comics for, teenagers and girls, comics like Our Love and Love Story. But there was also comics called Millie the Model and Patsy and Hetty. And these were the comics that...
Katie Keene.
And Katie Keene, exactly.
Yes.
And these were the comics that introduced me to fashion. Anyway, one of the things I'm working on is a comic book, a group of comic book characters, and she's going to be a teenage fashion model, struggling with her fashion friends and her friends that are... She's still in high school, so she's on the burner.
Does she have a name?
Yes, she does have a name. Her name is Brooklyn.
That's
And
fantastic.
So
We will look for Brooklyn in future.
I just thought, since I have a few of these books, I would go in chronological order. This is from Nicole Miller. I was there, my first season there was fall '98. And interestingly enough, my first day there, the shoe licensee came up, and I had worked at Anne Klein as a designer before that for like 6 years, and I loved designing shoes. So these were some of the rough shoe sketches that I did. She was really into like ballet slippers, so I did like a basic ballet slipper, like a hard shoe. Then I did a kind of a buckle brogue as a ballet shape, and a very flat stretch boot. And I also had like some really high heels in the collection, so it was either really high or really flat. When I talk about like my working croquis books, I mean they really are. So I have some really, really rough sketches.
So what you're showing is really like a process book for your job.
Yes.
That you're using on the job.
Yes.
Okay.
And, so as we're in meetings with Nicole, she's choosing certain fabrics, and we're talking to her, and I would roughly just kind of get, certain ideas. And Nicole, at the time, liked, really nice, big, pretty sketches. So these color illustrations that you see here are actually reduced from 11 by 14 drawings. Depending upon the collection that I'm working at, and I've been very fortunate to work in collections that we designed sportswear and dresses and evening dresses. This particular book is from Yancey Fugel, and Yancey Fugel was a sportswear collection, and it was based on like basically the working woman and her need to just look great at work. So it wasn't big on the evening side, but definitely lots of wonderful separates, jackets, dresses. This particular journal is from spring 2003, and a lot of times our preview collections were black and white based collections with a little color thrown in. So this these were just working sketches, and these were literally while I'm sitting with Yancy and the design assistant. We're sitting in meetings talking about after our fabrics were chosen and the headers came in, and we kind of settled on the color story. Then we would go into basically say, like, what is new for this woman this season? What does she need? So as I'm talking to Yancy would say, well, I think, she needs a certain type of jacket. I think being that this is kind of a safari look, maybe she needs a safari type of jacket. And it also depended upon the delivery, like the selling time. So we were designing it and merchandising it at the same time. Behind the frills, it's the figures that talk. And as much as I love the newest fashion and to be on trend, you really have to think about, where is this woman going? Or if I'm designing menswear, where is this guy going? What are they doing in these clothes? Especially when you're designing separates for women, because we'd love to think that this woman goes out and buys everything from us, but these clothes have to work with what she has too. Yeah. These are rough working sketches, I mean, they consist of, sometimes they are, very small flats, and you'll see my notes, like, even though my boss may have liked this, she would say, well, I love this, but I want to save it for our summer collection. So, and then I'm doing, like, novelty stretch jackets, an update on a white shirt, and then I would do the finished presentation sketches for Yancy, and then these were done on 9x12 marker paper, and then I would reduce them and put them in my book and add all kinds of notes for the pattern makers with the flat. Yeah. And
did you do the flat, or somebody else did the flat?
I did the flats. I did all of our flats. I've skipped ahead a couple of deliveries, but these are the way I would do our flats.
How many deliveries did you have here?
I want to say 9 to 12 deliveries.
You design sportswear, but sometimes you concentrate on dresses, and you also work in various price points.
Yes, I've worked in various price points.
So you're incredibly versatile.
Oh, well, I like to think so.
Yes,
I think
you are.
That's kept me employed.
Yes, but it's also kept you growing and up to date.
Absolutely.
And understanding the customer on all levels.
This book was when I was design director consultant at Lauren Dresses for Ralph Lauren. So
now I noticed that your body proportion is a little bit different. Something's changing here.
Well, at Ralph Lauren, they are very, very specific about proportion and the way they want you to draw. So I would draw in my book and my croquis book here. It was a kind of a combination of the way you draw at Ralph and the way I draw. These are copies of the sketches that we would give the workroom. And I designed for 3 divisions at Ralph Lauren. They had a division, American Living, Chaps, and the Lauren Dress division. So these were what the sketches look like that we would turn into our pattern makers. With Ralph, it's all about the movie, and American Living had their rig room for dresses. We would also go look at the Lauren collection rig rooms and see what they came up with, and we would have to be in sync with their rig rooms. And what a rig room is, literally a room that looks almost like a movie set of wonderful clothes that are in the Ralph Lauren image.
Set the scene.
Yes, and it sets the scene for the coming season. So they would like for you to reference a lot of Ralph Lauren. Like this was a Ralph Lauren collection dress, and I used that as a inspiration for this dress for resort. Yes, so this is a personal journal. It's pretty recent, and it's it's just a hodgepodge of things, but It's also using a technique that I usually tell my students, do not use alcohol-based markers in your journal because the paper absorbs them a lot and it bleeds through. So
Okay.
students, don't use alcohol-based markers
Yeah.
in your journal because the paper is not very expensive. What I have a tendency to tell students to use are water-based markers. They're bleed-proof, so
And that won't show through.
this will not show through. This definitely shows how it bleeds through,
Yeah.
so you don't want that to happen.
No.
And I'm thinking always, I'm writing notes about fabrics. This, just like I said, these are just ideas. So this is a 2-ply silk crepe. This is a pongee silk pant, a silk crepe dress. So like I said, it's
Oh,
got
she's so cute.
everything from sportswear to evening wear. It's just
Yeah, that's
ideas
gonna be fun.
that,
It's fun.
this is just totally an idea book.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll skip pages. And this,
Mm.
yeah, these were from the Madame Gray exhibit at the
Oh,
Met.
yes.
And I always find that I like to go in with a sketchbook. A lot of times in exhibits they don't like for you to take pictures, and looking at, wonderful historical fashion, it gives you your own reference when you're doing your sketches.
So then this is like a library that you can go back to. when you're-
Absolutely.
So is this one of the things you would do if you were stuck creatively?
Absolutely.
You would go back in and just take a
Mhm.
look and see what you could apply to what you're doing?
Yep.
Really